It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We have an October 2nd meeting to talk about, actually a bonus meeting too to talk about from that date, and also a number of things coming up in the month of October, so get your calendars out. A lot happens in the city of Maple Grove. Let's start with the meeting before the meeting, and this was a special meeting to talk about the comp plan, which we've talked about many times. Give us an update of where we are now, and I understand specific focus in this particular meeting about the gravel mining area. Where are we in the comp plan talk?
Yeah, so this was a meeting, comp plan committee was invited in, as well as the full council. We wanted to just give an update as to where we're at with kind of the progress on the land use piece of the comp plan. And again, really focused on that 610 corridor as well as the gravel mining area. One of the pieces of work that staff had been doing in the past few months is talking about kind of absorption rates in terms of how much land we have dedicated to certain uses. So for instance, high density or medium density or low density residential, but also then commercial and industrial. And looking at, in a typical year on average, how many acres of that type of land gets developed, or how many units do we develop? And based on that, what's our supply of that? How many years of supply do we have? Looking for that, and just trying to kind of look at from a balanced perspective of, you know, do we have too much land dedicated to certain uses, and just giving them some good insight to that, what we think that absorption might look like over the time frame of this comp plan. So reviewed that data. One of the nuances is that we have a good portion of the land in the gravel mining area, kind of in that donut hole there between east of Hemlock, north of Elm Creek Boulevard, that really is going to be off bounds until probably after 2040. We'll see active gravel mining activity there through that time frame, and so we looked at the absorption data. Both with that in the equation and then out, because really it's not on the table until after that time frame. So looking at balancing out some of the areas in terms of commercial and industrial, and those residential uses, primarily maybe flipping some of that up in the 610 area back to residential. So we'll see where that goes, but it was a good update for the council, and then sharing of some of that data.
Very good, and we'll continue to update you on the comp plan as that work moves ahead. Now to the meeting from the 2nd. It was about 40 minutes in length. There was one issue that took about a third of the meeting. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. First, though, on the consent agenda, Councilmember Hanson pulled one item. That's the Domestic Violence Awareness Month information. Tell us why that was pulled and what is coming up in Maple Grove, and actually happening right now as we tape this program.
It is. So I think just to give some special recognition to the effort that the city is undertaking here, we're partnering with the Domestic Violence Awareness Association, or the Domestic Violence Action and Awareness Group, and that's a social justice program of St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Church. They had some representatives from that organization had approached the city and wanted to sort of heighten the awareness about the issue around domestic violence, and part of that was to light up some buildings with purple lights. Purple is the color, of course, for domestic violence awareness. So if you're near the police department, you'll see the trees in front are lit up purple, and then we have the town green program to be purple this month, as well as I think some lights down at St. Joseph the Worker. But through that, we're doing some additional educational pieces out on social media here at CCX, and putting out some press releases just to get more attention, so if we have some more awareness and education out there about the resources that are available to people who might be experiencing this in their lives.
Very good. So if you see the purple, maybe stop by the Government Center, step inside, and you can find out a little bit more during the month of October. Now to further parts of the meeting, special business. There was a lot that went on, and a lot of people in the crowd there. First, we should mention some people that weren't on the agenda but were sitting there, so if people were watching, there were some scouts at the meeting for a special purpose, and I understand the mayor really likes this part of the meeting. Tell us why the scouts were there.
Yeah, so we had representatives from Maple Grove Scout Troop 531. We had the 6th graders from that troop, and then Maple Grove Cub Scout Troop 211, the 5th graders. So this is kind of part of their, the badges that they earn is to come and attend a city council meeting, and then the mayor's always happy to visit with them afterwards and talk a little bit about the work that he does for the city, and then just in general, what we're responsible for as a city government. They always have questions about things that they experience as youth living in the community, and so it's a good opportunity for them to share some of that information, and then they get a nice little Maple Grove pin when they're finished, and so it's kind of a fun experience for the scouts and for the city council as well.
Thanks to the scouts for coming, and I bet some of the scouts might have been interested in the first special piece of business, which was Fire Explorers. They maybe looked at these folks and thought, boy, I could maybe do that.
I'd like
Tell
to
us
do
about the Fire Explorers and their work at the State Fair recently.
Yeah, so at the end of August, our Maple Grove Fire Explorer unit competed in the Governor's Fire Prevention Day. That's part of the State Fair activities. We placed third out of 29 teams, so they got a nice trophy for their efforts. And they participate in 8 different events that day, CPR and AED, so that's the automatic external defibrillator, combat relay, spinal immobilization, room search with rescue, ladder raise, firefighter 1 written test, gear donning, and then a public education presentation about fire prevention.
Wow.
So pretty rigorous
Involved.
program and involved, and so we had our Fire Explorers in to be recognized by the City Council for their efforts there, and pretty proud of them. So it was nice to have that group on hand, and got some pictures with the City Council too.
And I would guess if people are interested in what they do and maybe getting involved, they could contact the fire department through the city and find out more about it.
Yep.
Are they enrolling people all throughout the year, or is this a once a year? Or maybe, again, that's a question to ask to the fire department.
Yeah, you know, I think they usually go through a recruitment process once or twice a year. So maybe give a call up to the fire department. We'd be happy to help you get connected.
Congratulations to the Explorers. Let's talk about Wayzata Public Schools. And if people don't know, a portion of Wayzata Public Schools inches into the city of Maple Grove. And actually, looking at some of the numbers, it was more than I thought. So about 1,300 Maple Grove students go to Wayzata Schools. And the reason staff was there from Wayzata Schools was what?
Yeah, so Jim Westrom, their CFO, was there to talk about, they have a question on the ballot this November 7th. So it's for increasing funding to support students, staff, and schools. So they provided some information about what the question is and what the funding will be. So we had them in just to provide that information. It's an operating levy, some bond funds, and a technology levy. Both the operating and the technology levy are renewals of existing bonds. So just kind of reinvesting in their facilities and some of their technology. So always good to just share that information so that as those folks who live in the Wayzata School District, which is primarily on the southwest corner of the city, head out to vote, they have some good information about what they're being asked.
Excellent. More information certainly on the Wayzata Public Schools website. There was one public hearing at the meeting on October 2nd, and that had to do with the new restaurant that you see popping up out of the ground. Tell us about Portillos, why they were there at the council meeting.
Yeah, so we were there on a public hearing for an on-sale wine and 3-2 malt liquor license, so basically wine and beer license for Portillos. That was approved that night. Public hearing was held. Kind of an interesting fact is that they've had to push their opening to January. They are really struggling to find staff. They have a recruitment center set up over at Don Pablo's and training facility. And so if anybody's out there that's interested in looking for a job, I know that they're a pretty good employer and they run a nice operation, and so you might want to think about stopping in there. They need up to about 200 staff, so it's no small feat, and we do know that the labor market up here in the Northwest Metro is a little tight, so not terribly surprising, but I think a little bit surprising at how much of a struggle they're having getting staff. So it's out there if people are interested.
That is not what you usually hear holding up a construction project or a business opening, but certainly there are opportunities there. The longest item at the council meeting on the 2nd happened to do with the big game coming up here in Minnesota in February, the Super Bowl, and the city of Maple Grove has been working on some plans, and it was presented to the council. Tell us how their reaction was. What were some of the questions?
Yeah, so we're working with Sue McLean and Associates to put on a concert the night before the Super Bowl over at Central Park. Right now the concept is kind of have a large tent over at Central Park and have the concert situated there. Some questions around, what happens if we don't sell enough tickets, and what's our cancellation clause in the contract, some insurance questions, that kind of thing. So this got tabled. We're going back to the drawing board with Sue McLean. McLean and Associates, they do the concerts at Hildy in Plymouth and at the zoo, and so they're very interested in the Central Park venue. That whole venue was kind of created with the notion of having larger events like this. So I think this is maybe the first time, we're getting through this, and we'll see probably more of that, more in the summer months, but with the Super Bowl coming to town, it's kind of a special occasion to think about that. So we anticipate this one coming back later at the second meeting in October. and we'll continue to refine that between now and then.
Very good.
Yep.
Is there a time frame that you're looking at of when the group would be announced? I know that's probably the question everyone's asking,
Yeah.
but what is that time frame that information would come out if everything moves ahead?
Yeah, pretty quickly after we approve a contract
Okay.
with McLean. I think we need to get that contract approved before we can firm that up. So we're looking at a number, probably 3 different bands, so kind of trying to have something for everybody
Very
a little
nice.
bit and a broader event. So we'll
And I
see.
do hear that the tent that Heidi mentioned will be heated.
Yes.
So don't worry that it's February.
No.
We'll be all right.
It'll be warm.
Let's
Yes.
move ahead to a few other items. There was discussion that Heidi had about some things that have been going on, and that would be the park system plan update. We've talked about that a few times, and I understand there's a meeting coming up later in October to talk
Yep.
further about that. And that kind of dovetails with the comp plan. Is that correct?
It sure does. So this is a part of our comp plan process. This is the park system plan update component. They've been working on that throughout the summer months here. They had quite a bit of public engagement around the park system plan and got feedback from stakeholders and residents, both online and then through kind of an app that people could provide direct feedback about their experiences in the park system. So the intent of the October 26th, this will be joint between the Park Board and the City Council, is to share that feedback that they've gotten over the last few months, kind of do a visioning session around where we head from here
Sure.
in setting those priorities in that park system plan. So kind of an exciting time as this all comes together.
All right, again, that's October 26th. And before that, on Monday, October 9th, it's a big day at the City of Maple Grove, something to do with electronics and
Yeah.
a new way to look at what contractors bring in. Give us a little background here. This
Yeah.
is really a neat step forward for the City of Maple Grove.
Yeah, it's a big step, and it's really been about a year-long planning effort to get to the point of going live next Monday, October 9th. So what we're implementing is electronic plan review. It's a system called Project Docs. We're starting in the building department with kind of the bigger commercial projects, but
Okay.
our goal is then over the coming months to kind of further implement this into the organization to the point where from the time a project walks through the door to the planning department as a concept, all the way through being constructed, so that hits planning and building and fire and engineering, that it would be reviewed and approved in an electronic form. This has been, as I mentioned, a very long process, but also pretty rigorous.
Sure.
And we really needed to map our workflow. So when a paper plan comes through the door, you know, what process does it go through to get approved? Are there things we want to tweak about that to make that better? And then folding that into what will become an electronic process. So a couple things that are left to do here. A lot of the people who are involved with plan review now have a bigger monitor on their desk.
Right.
They're trading
Sure.
the big plan sets for bigger monitors, and they'll be interacting with those plans online. And the other side of the coin here is that the developers, the architects and the designers and the construction folks, they can interact with the plans
Sure.
online electronically as well. So it's kind of a two-sided program, which is, I think once we get everybody adjusted to that and move in that direction, it'll really yield some efficiency, and we'll get rid of those big plans we have a lot of those sitting
bet.
around City Hall.
Open up a few closets in City Hall, right?
We might have room for
And there
some
might be a
storage.
little moving as well. So
Yes.
this involves looking at how staff again looks at these plans and
Yep.
who sits next to whom, correct?
Yeah, so our next step is in January. We're planning to kind of reconfigure the office space
Okay.
in support of this. And what that means is right now our fire inspectors are on the second floor of City Hall, so we'll be moving our fire staff downstairs. And so on that end of the building where the building department and planning is, we're going to be plugging fire in there. Reconfiguring the office space so it's a little bit more of an open floor plan, more collaborative space, allows for those monitors to be there. Some of the work surfaces you'll be able to stand and work at them. I think one of the challenges is if you're going to be sitting in front of a monitor most of the day, being able to have some ergonomic features to that.
Sure.
Versus with the plan set, a lot of folks are standing at a drafting table. And so we'll be implementing some of those things in the workspace. So looking forward to that, and that'll probably be kind of a January timeframe. We want to get them going on the electronic plan review, and then do the space reconfiguration, and then we'll continue to roll it through the different departments. And hopefully a year and a half from now will be a completely electronic process.
Very nice.
Yep.
Now, I'm sure a question that residents might have, how far does this reach to a resident level? So if I'm going to be doing something with a deck, or a
Yep.
garage or something in my home.
Yep.
Does it come to this level, or
It
is this for
does.
the big players, the contractors?
No,
Everybody?
Everybody,
Okay.
really. Yeah, but we're going to have, we're starting with the bigger commercial projects.
Right.
A number of cities have done this implementation already, and so we have spent a lot of time meeting with them and trying to understand how they did that and what they would do differently if they
Right,
could do
sure.
it again, and what went well. And a lot of the cities, we spent some time down at the city of Edina. They had already implemented this, as well as the city of St. Cloud. And so we had some learnings from them, and they all kind of said, start with your bigger commercial projects.
Right,
Get those
makes
under
sense.
your belt, and then just start to fold it in from there. Eventually we will have, so if you're doing a deck project, that will need to be submitted electronically.
Right, okay.
We intend to have kind of a kiosk at the government center because we know sometimes those plans come in and they're,
On a napkin?
well, they need to be a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But we will have some tools there to be able to assist residents that may not have, the capacity to be
Sure.
doing what maybe an architect or a contractor might be doing. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we've thought of that piece as well. But
Very
that's
good.
a little bit further out, but we'll
Yeah.
probably be there by spring.
All right,
Yeah.
big change coming up. Look
Yep.
for more to come on that. So that's the meeting from October 2nd, again, about 40 minutes long. Now a number of other things happening in town. So again, this is where you get your pencils and calendars out. The first is something about being mayor for a day. Some young people have a unique opportunity here.
Yeah.
How does this work?
So every year the League of Minnesota Cities does this contest throughout the state of Minnesota, and it's a program where a student can write an essay to be mayor for the day. So it's Maple Grove residents in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade are invited to participate. And if they were, they write the essay on basically, if I were mayor for the day, so what would you do
Right.
if you were mayor
Fun.
for the day and could make decisions or build a project or change something? What would that look like? And the winners will be chosen, and there's actually a cash prize associated with it.
Very
So kind of
neat.
fun. And so the information is available on the website at the League of Minnesota Cities website, but we also have information linked to our site as well. And it's due by October 13th, so kind of a tight time frame here, but we
Right.
do encourage people to get out and participate in it. It should be kind of fun.
Very good. I think a lot's going to be around, I want more parks and maybe more ice cream shops. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens
Yeah,
when the
more
essays
ice
come in.
skating or something.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be good. Business news, we've got quite a bit a little bit later, but let's
Yep.
talk about one that had a open house event, StemOnix. Tell
Yeah.
us about this business. It's quite an interesting one that's new in town.
Yeah, so this is over at the Wedgwood Business Park. This is a great example of med tech expansion in our community that lives in the business park environment. Great jobs. They have, engineers, R&D type engineers. This is the start of their expansion in Minnesota. They've previously been in San Diego, California, and we're really happy that they chose to make Maple Grove their home here in Minnesota. But this is exactly kind of down the medical alley, which is an organization
Right.
that we partner with to try to encourage med tech expansion here. And these are the kinds of jobs we're looking to bring to Maple Grove. So this is a great company. They grow basically kind of miniature human organs for pharmaceutical testing.
Oh,
I think
my
this is where the
goodness.
future of medical research is headed.
Right.
That they can do some testing on things outside of the human body experience and learn from that and refine those pharmaceutical and medical device products. So pretty excited to have them in town. They're just off over at the Wedgwood Business Park. So
Welcome.
yeah, welcome to StemOnix.
Very neat. And more business news coming up in just a minute.
Yep.
Let's talk about some city facilities and city amenities and some changes going on here and some information you need to do. First is the Central Park splash pad.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the water's done.
We're done for the season with the
Okay.
splash pad.
Makes sense.
Yep. I think it's getting cold enough that those days are over, I think, for good. Playground, of course, remains open through the fall, and we see kids out there all winter long, playing, and it's just a great venue for that. Once the cooler weathers arrive, we'll start looking to get the skating loop up and running.
All right.
Typically need weather to be consistently in that 40-ish, 45-ish range during daytime highs, but we'll keep a monitor on that, and hopefully, I think the goal is usually to have it open around the Thanksgiving holiday
Right.
so that families can get out and enjoy that. So
very good.
Yeah.
Be looking for that coming
Yes.
along. Farmers Market, let's give people an update. It's about the change of the season here, but still some time to be outside.
Yeah, so we have 3 more dates left in the outdoor season. One today, here as we're
Okay.
taping this, so October 5th, 12th, and 19th. And now we've shifted the time a bit, so we're the 3 to
Right.
6 p.m. hour. And then on October 19th, kids are invited to wear their Halloween costumes and they can trick or treat
Very
at the
nice.
vendor booths.
Good.
Yes, fun annual tradition. And then we start our indoor season on Thursday, November 2nd from 3 to 6. And we have about 20 vendors already signed up for those indoor markets.
Very good.
And those will
So-
continue through the holidays.
Get out there and enjoy that outdoors. Speaking of outdoors around the community center, the parking lot continues to roll along here, and we have more good news.
Yeah, I
It's
think
about over.
It is about over. I think it's going to open up next week, middle of the week. So we're really looking forward to that. And so we'll continue to provide the rides from
Okay.
out by the ice arena. But one of the kind of nice additions is there'll be a little bit more handicap parking available at the front of the community center. We
Very
know
nice.
we heard from some of our senior community about that need. So yeah, we've hopefully almost made it through the construction here.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's going to happen. All right, here's a real quick one. So again, if you're watching this as we are just recording it here in the early part of October, we want to mention October 7th. That is Cleanup Day. What is
Yep.
Cleanup Day in Maple Grove?
Yeah, so residents can drop off unwanted appliances, propane tanks, tires, scrap metal at the Maple Grove Public Works facility this Saturday, October 7th from 8 to noon. That's at 9030 Forest View Lane, so kind
Right.
of in that northeast area of the city. There are some charges that do apply depending on what you're bringing, so you might want to check the website depending on what you have. And then we don't accept electronics, so computers, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
keep that in mind as well.
So there's the county site
Yep.
in town that
Yep.
takes care of that type of work. Again, a lot of information on the city's website of
Yep.
the do's and don'ts and how-tos there.
Yep.
The city is hiring. This is good news for people possibly looking for a job or a different job. What are the positions?
Yeah, so we have a light equipment operator in our Public Works Department. Those applications are due Friday, October 13th by 4:30 p.m. And then as we've moved through this fire chief process, of course, now we're recruiting for a new deputy
Right.
fire chief. Tim Bush has moved up into that fire chief role, and those applications are due Monday, October 23rd at 4:30 p.m.
All right. We want to keep you up to date on the Angel of Hope Garden. We've mentioned that some work is going on there and some expansion. Tell
Yep.
us what is the latest.
Yeah, and we actually had an opportunity to visit the site on the park board tour
Okay.
that was held in the
Right.
last couple weeks. It's really coming together. It's really a nice expanded site up there, and so everything will be wrapped up here. Of course, the event coming up December 6th is the annual event around the country for the Angel of Hope memorials, and so we really encourage people as this construction wraps up, get up there and take a look at the improvement. And now there's expanded space for memorial pavers, and so
Right.
if you have an interest in that opportunity is there as well.
And again, that's located right near Fernbrook
Yep.
and County Road 30, so
Yep.
in that area of town.
Yep.
Let's talk about transit fares. Some things changing a little bit there. We just want to make sure riders are aware of
Yeah.
a slight increase.
Yeah, so this is an increase that was authorized by the legislature this past year. Increases fares by 25 cents, so up to $3.25 for our riders. Fares haven't increased for a number of years, and I think this is just part of the ongoing Met Council, the transit budgets at the Met Council, and needing to augment that a little bit. So that's there. Did talk with Mike Opatz today. We are going back on a detour route for a little bit with our buses
Uh-oh.
because of the 94 project. So hopefully that won't cause too much of a delay, but I know they're
Okay.
trying to wrap some things up here before the winter months. So another couple weeks of some detours.
And again, a note on that increase is that it's not just for Maple Grove, but it's
No.
for all bus riders and transit riders throughout the metro area.
Yep.
Fire Prevention Week is coming up. October is always the month, and this year the theme is Every Second Counts. Tell us
Yep.
a little more about that initiative.
Yeah, so every second counts, no two ways out. So it's really about your family being prepared for what would happen if there's a fire in your home or in your business for that matter. So we really encourage people to think about that during Fire Prevention Week. It's October 8th through the 14th, so this week coming up here. And then we do have our Maple Grove Fire Prevention Facebook page, and that has all kinds of fire safety tips and educational pieces that people can connect to.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, as promised, if you love to shop in Maple Grove, get your pens out here
Yeah.
because we've got a long list. We mentioned StemOnix and a new business in the Wedgwood area. Tell us about some other new businesses in town.
Yeah, quite a list to go over. So we always see new businesses coming to town, oftentimes going into existing spaces
Right.
that we have. So Cricket Wireless up off 83rd Way, Minnesota Excellence in Learning Academy. That's the out at the church there off of Zanzibar Lane, kind of in the northwest corner
Open
of
Door?
the city. Yes, Open Door, thank you. New Creations Childcare off of Maple Grove Parkway, Yellow Brick Road Early Childhood Development Center off of Revere Lane, Overstock Furniture and Mattresses off Kearney Road 81. We talked about 10 Sushi,
Right.
Japanese Bistro going in off of County Road 30. They're expected to be open in November. Of course, we talked about Portillos a little bit, now predicted for January. Barton Walter and Crier PC, a business, I think that's probably an attorney's office. And then we have Grove Dentist at 7916 Main Street North, and that's a new location for them, not a new business. So we post a lot of this information on our
I was
social
hoping,
media.
right. In case we couldn't write all that down.
Yeah, social media platforms for Maple Grove Biz, Maple Grove MN Biz, and so that's kind of our business-focused social media. So we try to keep everybody up to date what's going on in town.
And as you see, a lot happening right here in the beginning of October.
Yep.
Let's talk about the community center. A couple dates to remember there are October 21st and 22nd. It's celebration time.
Yeah, so coming 20 years in the community center, which is kind of hard to believe. Luckily, we'll have the parking lot done for this event. Saturday and Sunday, October 21 and 22. They have kind of a special family rate for the whole weekend, pay one rate, and you get access to everything in the community center. And they're going to have some activities and prize drawings and some treats and things. So if you're looking for something to do that weekend, it'll be a great celebration over at the community center.
Very good. No reason to stay inside in the month of October. A lot going on in Maple Grove. Heidi, thank you very much for your time and all the information. Let's leave you with some information you might need to find out more about what we talked about. The Maple Grove website is maplegrovemn.gov. The next council meeting, by the way, is Monday, October 16th, 7:30 at the Government Center. Phone number to the Government Center as well on the screen. And our viewer response line, 533-1710. Questions or comments for Heidi, we will take them there. For Heidi, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.